Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So what's on tap for today? We're continuing our POLITICON debate series between Coulter and Ana Kasparian of the Young Turks, who I affectionately call the Young Jerks. It's part 2 of the POLITICON debates. We're going to get to all that in these next few seconds. The question is Trump an effective leader? And before we get to that, just want to let you know, folks, that you're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, share, follow us, notification bell as well, comments below. You know what to do. Let's get to the debate between Ann and Ana. We're going to do that right now.
And then we'll come back to you, so we keep it moving. Is Trump being an effective president so far?
I think Trump has done a really good job at being effective in creating scandal in the White House, and I have to be quite honest. It's a little disturbing to read articles like what just came out from the New Yorker with Ryan Lizza and some of the statements that were made by Scaramucci, who was supposed to be here but apparently didn't show up. We are supposed to have some level of civility in government, regardless of what political affiliation you have. And right now, we are dealing with a Russia scandal. We're dealing with infighting within the White House. We're dealing with all sorts of chaos, and there have been no legislative wins so far. Now, Ann's right, it's been 7 months. But remember, when Trump was campaigning, he made a lot of promises about what he's going to do on day one. What he's going to do on day one. Well, what has he done since day one? I mean, he has definitely applied for more visas for foreign workers to come in and work for his properties. He's definitely done that. He has increased the cap for foreign workers to come into the country. And so he basically turned his back on his base, and I'm unsure whether or not they're even aware of that. So no, he hasn't been an effective president. If anything, there's been a lot of entertaining drama and scandal, but that's it.
Well, I was going to say, for one thing, I would not consider the Scaramucci interview the highlight of the Trump presidency so far. But I was trying to remember, can you really not hear me?
You seriously can't hear her? I'm getting a lot of thumbs up.
I know this is crazy, but I kind of want to adjust it because I mic myself every day. Do you mind if I do it?
Ooh, look at that unity already.
Here.
All right.
Here.
No, it can't be on that side.
Can you throw your hair over your shoulder?
There you go.
Talk a little.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How's that working? Can you hear me? I think we're going to have to do that. What I was saying about the 7 months is when I think about, before 9/11, what did Bush do? I don't remember anything. Until Obamacare passed, I don't remember anything Obama did. So yeah, there's been a lot of excitement, some of which I'm not that thrilled about, but is he an effective president? Well, how do you judge that? What did he run on? What did he promise? I think none of his supporters, maybe some of them, really just thought it would be fun to have this tacky billionaire in the White House. I think most people thought, no, he's the only one raising the issues we have been dying to have some president raise. And, screw you Republicans, screw you Democrats. We're going to put this nut in the Oval Office because he will at least put Americans first and not Wall Street first. And has he done that? Well, in 7 months, he's really going after MS-13. He's attempting to prevent terrorists from coming into the country. The courts, so we're getting massive resistance from the Democrats as usual, as we got during the civil rights era. But he'll win in the end. He's interviewing for the wall. He has a fantastic attorney general. He has a fantastic head of ICE. So as for what he has promised and whether he's implementing it, I'd give him a B. I'm looking for an A by the midterms.
I want to be like Switzerland, like Gwen Eiffel here, and not take a side. But occasional things may jump out at me. Do you want to respond to that? I just want to.
If you don't mind, I would like to respond.
But just
sure.
want to. Does the president think that he has a fantastic attorney general? He seems to not agree with you.
Well, if we're going to get into the flaws of the Trump administration, I mean, I think the original sin was something that I've been perfectly open with him and the world about. Americans don't like nepotism. I don't think he should have brought his son-in-law into the White House, and I think a lot of this has to do with him being worried about the investigation going after his son-in-law. I think he's right not to want an independent counsel. There's a reason Congress got rid of the independent counsel law. You can't just have this unaccountable roving commission looking at everything you've ever done. I understand. I feel his pain. I feel his frustration. But no, you shouldn't be, posting your own attorney general. If you don't like him, fire him. You're the president. But look, he's done, I don't think that is nearly as bad as the first thing I didn't like that he did. And it's really just about two things. And that was, one of the things we voted for, don't get us involved in any more pointless wars. And that bombing of Syria, again, I see a little nepotism issue here. I mean, the claim in the New York Times and the Washington Post was Ivanka saw some pictures of children and started crying. Oh, daddy, we have to bomb Syria. So Ivanka cried, kids died. But his base punched back, and at least we are not involved in a war in Syria. And by the way, we would have been in Syria, in Russia, in Iran, if it had been anyone else running for president, with the possible exception of Bernie Sanders. So I would say he's effective. He hasn't gotten us involved in a pointless war, and he is pretty well following through on the immigration stuff. He's pretty well following through on the trade stuff. That's all I care about. I don't care about the tweets. I love the tweets.
All right. So there's quite a bit to jump in on. But the first thing that I want to address is this.
And before we get to that, I think they both made their points. Ann Coulter has, like I said, she's obviously supported the president at that time, still supporting him. But, she had some reservations about some of the picks of President Trump. And, she pointed those things out. So opening salvos from both of them in terms of, I think, when Ann gave the grade of a B to President Trump at that time, I would probably say that, like, you're 7 months into it, he's fighting, a Congress that, yes, is Republican, but they're not conservative. Okay, these are the same moderate, squishy, wishy-washy, the Mitt Romneys, the John McCains, those types of, Republicans, the Murkowskis, those ones. And so, the Paul Ryans, all those or whatever. So, just one person, I think Trump found out that, yes, you're the president, but it's not like running a company where you get to just make the decision and it's implemented immediately. It's got to go through all these filters, all these different elements to get to the point where it can actually become, a policy and then made into law. So anyways, let's continue and see what the rebuttal is from Ana.
This notion that he is not escalating war abroad, which is completely false. So within the first 3 months of his presidency, he actually escalated some of Obama's foreign policy in the form of drone strikes. In fact, it increased 423%. We are bombing like crazy in places like Yemen. Okay? And this whole notion that, this Muslim ban is trying to keep the terrorists out of the country. Doesn't anyone else find it a little strange that Saudi Arabia, one of the countries that was obviously involved in what happened on 9/11, is not part of that Muslim ban, right? So, I mean, I know that the right wing has been very vociferous in terms of trying to make Saudi Arabia pay some consequences for it. Trump isn't making him pay any consequences because he has financial interest there. I want to go way back to what you said about,
In the financial interest, there is no financial interest for Donald Trump in Saudi Arabia. I don't know what the hell she's talking about, but there is no financial interest.
Legislative wins and policy. When it comes to the issue of immigration, it's kind of fascinating because Obama got a lot of criticism for being soft on immigrants, right? But by the end of 2010, he had allocated $12 billion toward border security, and he had hired 40,000 new border agents. As a result, less undocumented immigrants were coming in, more of them were leaving. Between 2005 and 2010, we actually had 1.5 million undocumented immigrants leave the country, mostly because of economic reasons. The economy in Mexico was starting to do a little better and people wanted to leave. So there were wins when it came to Obama. He did do things, and he got a lot of criticism from the left when it came to his immigration policy. But the reality is Donald Trump hasn't done anything yet other than attempt to ban people from some Muslim countries and pretend like he's a tough guy. In reality, he's not a tough guy. He hasn't succeeded in anything, and healthcare is the latest example of that.
The reason, again, in terms of the healthcare debate, is with Paul Ryan and the other Republicans, look, they all want, they're all looking for some type of government program, government subsidies, a government implementation of the continuation. Even the Republicans, although they say, we want to go ahead and repeal and replace, they had so much time to go ahead and start the rise, just like the Democrats had done with Obamacare. But did the Republicans do it? No. So Trump puts him in charge and says, let's go ahead and repeal, replace, start the process. And he's getting sabotaged by Ryan and the other Republicans who never did anything to try to really do something to really gut Obamacare and come up with their own version, their own plan of, Republican reform. There were people that were out there that were giving them some great ideas, but Ryan and the Republicans didn't want to implement any of that at all. So to blame that on Trump, I guess you can say, okay, he's president. You get the credit when credit is due. You get the blame when blame is due. The buck stops with you, obviously. But 7 months into it, when you basically say the first 3 months are like the honeymoon period, the first 100 days, what he had done in those 7 months, I think was good enough to start, and at least starting off with, guess what? They talk about the Muslim ban, whatever. Folks, come on. It's a nice way of coining it. Those were countries, in terms of where their vetting process for their citizens to try to vet them because they wanted to leave was absolutely crap. And we didn't have enough resources in those countries to vet these people properly. And the places that they were coming from were huge hotbeds of anti-Americanism, democracy, anti-Westernism. These were these were the footholds of where Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other terrorist groups, were functioning and working and having camps out there. So yes, putting those 7 countries on there, and basically they're saying that's the same countries that Obama had in terms of not issuing passports visas to. So all Trump did was take the same thing and add some enhancements, and boom, you're calling that a Muslim ban. Unbelievable.
Well, I won't waste a lot of time saying what I agree with you on. Couldn't agree with you more on Saudi Arabia. The only thing I'll say in response to that is every single general, every single presidential candidate wants to suck up to Saudi Arabia.
That's right.
Trump is the most and by the way, I'll throw one in for you. We're continuing this pointless Obama war in Afghanistan. We've been in there 17 years. What are we doing there? But all of his advisors and all of your favorite Republican, John McCain and Lindsey Graham, oh no, they want a full-blown, relationship with Saudi Arabia, and we'll go to war in Syria, we'll go to war in Russia. No, Trump is, at least on the war front, he's doing better than anybody else would have. As for, Obama being a kick-ass on, hard ass on immigration. No, this is a total lie. 2 quick points I will make. One is this is a Washington metric that if you spend more money, you're getting serious about it. No, spending money on Border Patrol means more government workers, more unionized workers, more taxpayer money. It does not mean more enforcement. And what Obama did to make it look like they were doing enforcement is they redefined deportation. It used to be, for 50 years, you turn somebody away at the border. That's not a deportation. You turned them away at the border. Suddenly, under Obama, they started describing the turn them away at the border as a deportation. So, you know, it's like a failing school saying, we just changed the passing grade from 70 to 40. And look, all the kids passed. That's what we got under Obama. We're getting deportations. You wouldn't have so many people weeping about the deportation. There was just another one, I think in Bloomberg yesterday, someone weeping about, it was an ICE agent saying, oh, these ICE agents are coming to me and they actually want to deport people. No, ICE is able to do its job now, and they haven't been, not under Obama, not under Bush.
All right, first to you.
I need to respond to that because there were a lot of
Before we get to her response, Ann Coulter countered those 2 points that Ana made in the previous thing in terms of Obama being a kick-ass on deportation, saying that, you know, hiring 40,000 more agents, spending billions and billions of dollars on that, and countered very effectively saying spending more money doesn't mean effective policing, policing, or effective increasing, your policies and making them better. Just because you throw money at it doesn't mean crap. And the second thing's basically saying in terms of deportations were up. Well, if you redefine what it means for deportations, as Ann said, well, of course your numbers are going to look better. So this is what the Democrats and probably the Republicans or political parties, when they get in to try to spin in their direction, let's see if we can rearrange or play around with the numbers or redefine definitions. And that can either help us or, help us, put out our policies and say, hey, look, these policies are working. But it's all playing games, with the numbers.
Misleading statements that you mentioned, and I'll tell you why. So the Obama administration certainly did deport more people than the Bush administration, and it was not just people being turned away at the border. I'll give you the numbers, okay? So first of all, the $12 billion that he allocated for border security went toward hiring 40,000 border agents. So it was not to increase the bureaucracy. It was to include or add to what we already had at the border. Now, you mentioned...
That's just stupid, whatever the heck she just said. So you just hired 40,000. You just hired 40,000 more agents, spending $12 billion for 40,000 new agents. You could have, how many border walls could you build for $12 billion? But we don't want to spend any money to build a freaking wall. No, that's not what we want to do. Okay, let's just spend it on border agents and not increasing the bureaucracy. Do you hear that stupidity right there from Ana? Adding 40,000 new agents doesn't increase the bureaucracy at all. Doesn't increase the paperwork, doesn't increase the payroll, doesn't increase the paperwork, doesn't increase nothing like that. Of course not. Just 40,000 more people there. Didn't increase, government didn't increase, the government didn't become larger. What the hell is she talking about? Just increased by 40,000 new people.
The ICE agents and all the people crying about how mean they are. I'm curious what you think about the border agents that are now being sued by the ACLU for molesting 2 teenage girls who are coming in from Guatemala. Does that make you feel bad at all?
Something else a wall would solve. Again, hiring border agents is not keeping illegal immigrants out of the country, and we know that because Obama was welcoming unaccompanied children. What the border agents were doing, this wonderful 40,000 border agents was handing them a pass, putting them on a bus to the interior of the country. That wasn't deportation, it was the welcome force down at the border. You put up a wall, you don't have to worry about paying unemployment, paying workman's comp, they don't have to go to sleep, they don't slack off, they don't molest illegals, the wall just sits there day and night, not having to sleep, eat,
they're actually... You know, it's incredibly misleading to say that we need to build a wall, because the fact of the matter is we 100% already have a wall. We have a 2,000-mile long border that we share with Mexico, right? About 1,000 miles are already covered by a wall. The rest, we're talking about a river, and we're talking about treacherous terrain. We're talking about mountains, okay? One of the reasons why he hasn't built the wall yet is because it's almost impossible to build the wall in the areas that we're talking about. There's a ton of issues with building the wall in the remaining area, including U.S. properties. We have resorts, we have U.S. properties that would essentially be divided in half if we continued building that wall. And by the way, it's a gigantic waste of resources. How about our taxpayer money actually go back to us as American people? How about that?
Okay. All right. So you brought up healthcare. We're all thinking about healthcare, a huge issue this week.
I'd just like to basically say that, Ana came back and said, you know what, border wall, in terms of it's, it's already there. But when you take a look at it, some of it is just like, fence, some of it's based like pieces of rope, some of it just broken pieces of wood. I mean, what she's talking about. Then she's saying, you're going to be splitting up, there's buildings there, there's resorts there, whatever. I mean, there's ways of, if that's true, and I'm not sure if it is, or if it's just a talking point, but if that's true, there's ways of compensating those owners of those resorts to say, what can we do to work around it, to do things in terms of, where can we go ahead and use engineering techniques, use architectural techniques to design and to move around. And you can alleviate those problems if you have to talk about where it's going to go through on land masses down there at the border. Is that so insurmountable a problem that we can't figure out? If there's a piece of property there that we can't decide to move the wall here to there because a piece of land is in the way? I mean, come on now. That's just stupid. But anyways, in this regard, I think they both got their points across. They both, rebutted with their statistics or whatever. In this one here, I'd basically say it was pretty even. I don't know. It just, to me, it's like I said, is look, at least on one side, you've got Ann Coulter, who is on the side of President Trump, obviously, but still has some, I wouldn't say reservations, but still obvious. Like I said, you're not getting everything that you want, but the things that you are getting, you're completely happy with. And 7 months into the presidency, you're probably saying, okay, fine. She gave it a B right now. She's saying, but she's looking for an A by the midterms. And that's, I think, what we would basically do too. Brand new, never been in Washington, obviously never been a politician. Let's see what, in hindsight, we can basically see by the midterms, he did a tremendous amount of things, even though he was being pummeled each and every single day in the news. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. Like, share, and follow us. Hit that subscription notification bell. I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, and when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.